Everybody in Hollywood that I've encountered seems to be, if you're not part of their work, you're kind of not part of their life.
I'm here with Lishy, and today we're talking set life with friends who love to give each other the business. Show busy people are only like down to do whatever you're doing when it's some kind of benefit more than.
Well, I don't know if it benefits them, but if it's involved in their work somehow,
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to be mean. That's just the way they are.
that's the nature of their business. Is
Yeah,
like it's either they're working or they're looking for work.
if you're not doing that,
Then they feel like they're
wasting their time.
they're losing they're losing ground.
They're losing an opportunity to be able to get that from
R-
someone.
They might be missing something important by
Mm,
not being engaged with somebody. And there are exceptions to every rule, of course, but
go on.
I'm just saying there are exceptions to that.
What's really go on?
Fucking dickhead. You are
But
such a bone. What a bone.
I've had like yeah, I think even the friends I had in editing were like that in LA where if I wasn't working somewhere and they couldn't be like, hey, you guys looking like we wouldn't really talk. Like when
That's exactly what I'm describing.
there's more to life than work.
Right. And that's what's so
Sad.
yeah,
Mostly.
that's what I didn't find very fun about the entertainment industry.
Well, I think like the people like sometimes when I got in with like a crew that would always like they were like, oh, this summer we're doing this movie and in the winter we're doing this movie and they would always see each other and they would always hang out with each other and they wouldn't hang out with anybody else. And so when I stopped doing that, they just wouldn't do things with me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
I mean, it's kind of like summer camp where you're always in a continuous summer camp situation where you keep seeing the same people, and then every time you see them, you act like it's been 5 minutes since you saw me, even if it's been 3 years, and it's that kind of thing, and that's what they're into. Like that's when I used to have to wear a wetsuit. I had a headset, and I used to sleep in a grip truck. Like that was what I did from like job to job because I couldn't drive home because I had to be the call was at 6 in the morning and it was 3 in the morning when I was done. So I couldn't go home and then come back, obviously, could I? So I would just sleep in the grip truck in a little bin
And that's what they want.
with an apple box as my pillow. Apple box. But yeah, but that's a certain lifestyle. I just can't picture living that lifestyle when you're like 50 or 40. Like it's fun when you're 20. God, it was fun when I was 20. When I was 20, it was great. And then you had the little craft services area. You can get a little spritz, right? Everything you wanted was on set, basically. It was like a little
They
town.
wanted that's because they wanted you on to they want that what we're just describing about the social interaction that's generated from these 16-hour days and stuff. You
Yeah.
become like an army
Hmm.
where anyone not in your uniform is kind of like not necessarily the enemy, but you're a civilian, so you kind of don't count. And not in a like I say, it's not malicious. It's just that's the way it works out.
But like, have you ever been on set and
Yes, I've been on set.
God damn you, have you ever been on set and you still talk to those people from that particular set? Has that ever happened to you?
I've tried to, but no, they don't call
Yeah.
back and stuff.
Well, that's happened to me too. That's why I was just asking if that was. Again, I don't think they're trying to be mean.
No, it's that's the life.
Mm. Yeah, because I stopped being a set rat. It's kind of like people who work out and they're gym rats or whatever. But like when you have like a life where the set is your life. When I used to come home, like my all my cupboards were bare. Like you don't buy any food. You don't, and if it's like a 2 or 3 month shoot, when you're done, you have nothing. Like there's nothing in your house, and everything looks the same as when you left. But it's like these moments where you just disappear from your life in a way. Like all my bills were unpaid. Like it was bad. Like this is before. Like now, everything is online. I auto pay pretty much everything. But back then, you actually had to like mail it with a stamp and stuff, and so you don't have time to do that kind of thing. So like everything goes unpaid for like 3 months, and then you get a bunch of money, and then you catch up or whatever. But then it's this cycle of feast and famine, as they say in the business, where it's not only financial, but it's even like emotional. Like your life becomes less important than the set in a way, because your life is nothing. It's empty.
Yeah, and I'm not down with that kind of enmeshment
Mm,
for employment. I'm not down for that type of enmeshment, right? Where the only time I see these people, it's like this micro world, you know, a
it is.
microcosm.
It is.
And then as soon as you get out of it, you're kind of lost.
You are. Yeah, you have no, because you're rudderless. Because everyone you know isn't calling you, or because until the next thing you're all doing together. Then when you see them, it's like no time has passed. It's so weird, and nobody brings up the fact that you didn't see each other or talk to each other for the last 4 months when everyone was broke and unemployed. Everyone just goes right back to the comfortable in jokes and whatever you used to do last time you saw them. Very strange, actually. This episode is about set life,
Circus. It's the circus.
the circus of entertainment.
The entertainment industry is kind of like the circus of olden timey days. You do a show, you pack up the shit, and
Mm,
then you go. And anyone who's not part of the circus crew
mm.
is kind of like in a different circle, you know?
It's really weird though.
It's a weird Venn diagram.
But it's like, but everyone thinks that it's completely normal. Like nobody thinks it's weird.
It's
And
normal for the people working in the circus. That's their day-to-day routine.
mm,
It's not normal compared to a guy that works in customer service for Whamco, but it's normal for the circus people or a soldier in the Civil War. It's normal for them to have to like find a chicken and kill it and eat rat and chicory instead of coffee. That's their normal.
I have to find a picture of chicory because I don't even know what it is. Now, when you were like you were the Lishi of the set, that this happened, this did happen to you, right? You did have it this
No, I was on like one or two movies that were more than like 3 days.
yeah, but you still did it, and it was more than one, right? Like
Not
you
really.
weren't you weren't necessarily a set monkey. Like I was a set monkey. That's
Not
different.
me, man. I was an extra.
Yeah, but you were an extra on other people's movies.
Yes. But really, that's like a lettuce picker. You walk to one farm and then you hope there's another farm down the road the next day. You're not on one movie for 10 days. That's like a gold mine.
Mm.
I was an extra in Showgirls. Remember Showgirls?
I do. That's why I'm doing this with my eyebrows. Well, were you in the strip club? You were a greasy
Yes.
sweat strip club dude?
Yes, I was in the strip club, Cheetahs.
Oh
Me-
shit!
And I actually took my dad to the set with me to you to be an extra. You'd sometimes just show up and you'd say, "Yeah, I'm going to spec if somebody doesn't show up, can we take their place?"
Mm.
And on Showgirls, like 10 or 12 people didn't show up, and my dad got one of the spots for like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, your dad. I'm just gonna say I would totally put your dad in a strip club. He looks like the kind of guy who would be like. He looks like the kind of guy who would like call one of the strippers or his girlfriend, you know, and like whenever he sees her, that's his girlfriend. He'd be one of those.
Wow, you knew my dad very well. It seems
Yeah.
like.
Well, I only met him like 3 times, but nah, we pretty much got the gist of it. Got the gist. You were downplaying your set life, but I think you did have more of an experience than I would say most people.
Oh, way more than most.
Right, because I mean, because like having like when I was a set monkey, like I had the lowest of the lowest jobs. When you're like an extra or you're featured, even in the slightest way, it's a completely different experience on set than someone who schleps C stands around or carries cokes around, which is what I did for many of the films I worked on, where I did the worst possible jobs you could possibly imagine. Like I
But
actually
you're
once
still part of the crew.
yes. Yeah, but if you're but I think if you're in front of the camera even as an extra, you're treated differently by the monkeys like me. Like we're not to look at you people in the eyes, even though you're an extra, I think.
That's not the way I remember it.
Why did they treat the extras badly in
Oh
the
yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
And the the stuff that I did, like anyone in front of the camera was off limits. Like fantastic. Like you do not look at them, do not talk, do not approach.
No, the only time I remember you had actors and chimpanzees you're not supposed to look in the eye.
Right. They pounce. They'll first bite your fingers off, then they'll go for the genitals.
The nipples, yeah.
Mm. Now, when you did when you did your set stuff, Do you have any stories that come to mind that are exciting that you could share?
I was an extra in Coneheads with Dan Aykroyd and Michael McKean. That was exciting over on Paramount Stages, and there was a scene in an arena with hundreds of Conehead extras. And that was just when CGI was starting to take hold. So they would have 120 of us in the stands, and then they would move us over and move us over and move us over, and I guess they would cut that and then fill it in. But we all had, since we were way far away from the camera, we actually had masks that you'd pull over your head, and there was a cone on top of it. So you were all cone heads. And it's really hot. And so one of the extras figured out that if you squeezed the cone,
Mhm.
it would blow air on your face. And so somebody found out. Ivan Reitman was like, "What the fuck are they doing? Why is everybody squeezing their cone?"
Well, wouldn't that also squeeze the sweat in your head into your makeup? Like, wouldn't it mess?
No,
Wouldn't
it's a pullover.
Yeah.
It's a entire face. It covers your
Oh, the
entire
whole
face.
entire face. Oh, Jesus. I thought it was just like a cap. It's not just a cap?
No, if you were acting, you had the cone, and it was, they blended in
Yeah,
and stuff
you're
like
right.
that. But if you were an extra 200 feet away from the camera, you pulled over this cone
Oh,
head.
it's an entire covering spritz. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so we're all up there squish, 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 squish. It was fun. What I've seen on sets is there's a lot of mutual respect for the other departments, but also a lot of the way brothers and sisters are allowed to beat each other up, and it's pretty fierce fighting. That type of stuff too,
Well,
like
it's a
the
lot of
set.
when I was like when I did get to assist the producers and stuff, like walking around, like a producer walking around in a set, every 2 steps, someone runs up and asks for money. So what he told me to do was listen to their complaints, tell them that we're working really hard to do it, and then do nothing. But because the money's already gone, because there's no money. But that's the poor producer. That's why a lot of times they would send me, like they wouldn't want to go to set because they didn't want to get yelled at by every department that's mad at the other department that got these really nice chairs, but they didn't have really nice chairs, and they wanted really nice chairs. But it usually wasn't that that petty, but it could be, and that's the kind of brother and sister thing where it's like the producers or the executive producer especially, like they're the money people, right? So they're the ones that will give money to the departments, and the departments always need money and are always behind and are always either need more staff or need more money to buy stuff because something is went over budget, and all their prep went to shit because the location they chose or that they could get doesn't have the X, Y, or Z that they need. The producer doesn't want to be on set. And the ones that I worked with never wanted to go, and even when they did go, they would like beeline it as fast as they could through and just do the thing of, oh yes, this is a very important thing, and we're, oh my god, I can't wait to help you with that, and then just to the next person. But they never ended up. I was assisting them, so I would know if they paid them anything, and they never did. That was my experience with them. But I mean, that's not to say that they all are this mean, but they're not trying to be mean. It's just a lot of the money's already spent.
Yeah, well, if you either you have money or you don't, it's finite, and you can ask all you want. But if I'm not going to give you any money, but I didn't see that. I'm just talking about the actual set life.
Mm.
Your experience with that is I've never had that. Like I say about the army thing, you're all in this predicament together,
Mm.
and the army guys hate the marine guys, but if they're fighting next to each other, they're brothers. You know what I mean? They are family. And if you're not wearing a uniform with the United States on it, you're not wearing a t-shirt that says Beverly Hills Ninja, then you're important as a civilian, but there's, like I can be kind to people outside of my family, but my sister comes first. And that, but also I can bust my sister's, chops worse than anybody. You know what I mean? But and that's the way it is on the sets. So you're helping each other. Departments will help each other to the point where it's okay, where you're not endangering anybody. Yeah, that's what I got out of it, is that between shots everybody's got to move their, and they'll be like, the prop guys won't pick up seats because they don't want to screw it up, right?
Mm.
And they'll work with each other, and then sometimes get pissed at each other, but because it's a work environment, you can't just, like, you can openly bust on your sister for not doing something, you can go tattle on mom, but because you're at a work environment, it's still a work environment, so there's that professionalism that has to exist between colleagues.
Well,
But
especially when they go, a lot of them sometimes get called by the other department for a job, right? You don't want to ruin that connection or that possible future gig by acting like a crazy.
right, you're still colleagues even though you're in different departments.
Mm.
And once you're outside of that concentric circle of acquaintance, like we were talking about earlier, once you're outside of that, there's a certain level of indifference to people outside of that circle. When you're in the circus life, when you're in entertainment, when you're on a movie set, when you're working from job to job on the set, those people in your circle, your professional colleagues, you really have to have a strong network to keep working,
Mm-hmm. So I have tallied our votes, and feel free to run in the comments section who you think is never right in this episode.
Squish, 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 squish. That was fun.
You're never right. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want more content from the Never Right podcast.